Well, that was certainly something. I didn't come into this pay-per-view tonight expecting that there would be a show-long storyline with a 76-year-old geriatric psychopath looking for his egg. Vince McMahon was at Survivor Series tonight. He popped up on camera, and he popped up with a giant golden egg. Which is kind of funny because as I look back at Survivor Series tonight, Vince McMahon did in fact lay a giant egg on all of us here tonight. But he had this egg and he put it in a glass case and sat it on his desk, and people would come into the office and he would make them acknowledge his golden egg, and then his golden egg disappeared. And he freaked out and he wanted to call the cops. And he sent Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville on a wild goose chase to find out which superstar stole the golden egg. And I said this on Twitter. If you had a 76-year-old man, a 76-year-old senior citizen in any other walk of life, running around yelling and screaming about his missing egg, they would throw a straitjacket on that guy so fast and take him for a psychiatric evaluation. And if anybody needs a psychiatric evaluation, it's Vince McMahon. This is your WWE Survivor Series 2021 review. I am the Solomonster. This was the final pay-per-view of the year for WWE or AEW. Final pay-per-view of 2021. Survivor Series used to be an event. Yeah, I grew up on Survivor Series and SummerSlam and WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, old school. The Big Four eventually became the Big Five. And there have been a lot of memorable Survivor Series over the years. A lot of memorable Survivor Series matches and incidents and things that have happened. It used to feel like an important pay-per-view, felt like things were happening. And the biggest indictment on Survivor Series this year is that when this show was over, it opened strong and it closed, from a match perspective, it closed, relatively strong. This was not a great main event tonight. In fact, I thought the Roman Reigns Big E main event started out pretty boring, to be honest with you. And then finally it picked up, as it reached its conclusion. So it started hot and it ended kind of strong in terms of the match. But you look at this pay-per-view on the whole, and the biggest indictment is that when it was over, I just sat here and I felt like, I didn't miss much if I didn't watch this show. And you never want somebody to come away from your pay-per-view thinking, I could have skipped this show tonight and I wouldn't have missed the damn thing. And that's part of what I've been talking about for weeks now about the lack of build for this show. And the whole notion of brand warfare, Raw versus SmackDown, no championship matches, no stakes to any of the matches, nothing tangible on the line. What is everybody fighting for? Xavier Woods said it himself, right? He had that video on his social media a few weeks ago. What are we fighting for? And he was pitching ideas about what the elimination match, what could be on the line and everything. There's no stakes for this show. You had a bunch of matches that were put together with a bunch of people who were more interested in fighting each other than they were the members of the other brand. So when we look at the women's match tonight, because the crowd in Brooklyn shat all over the women's elimination match, that 5-on-5 elimination match, the crowd in Brooklyn did not give a shit other than when Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair were in the ring together. And that, frankly, is what the match should have been tonight. It should have been one-on-one, Sasha Banks against Bianca Belair. But they didn't give it to us. But I'm not even going to sit here and blame the crowd for doing the wave and looking and sounding generally disinterested in that match, because what would they really have? What reason would they have to be excited about anything they saw on the show tonight? Apparently the match order changed a couple of hours before the show. Saw a couple of different websites talking about that. This is the kind of thing that should be taken care of long in advance. And Survivor Series, when it was over, just felt like another show where not a whole lot happened. And frankly, it wasn't even all that good. I didn't think it was the worst pay-per-view of the year or anything like that. It's just very middle of the road. Survivor Series ain't what it used to be, guys. Survivor Series ain't what it used to be. And that's pretty damn sad. Not a great night for SmackDown, but it was all set up for the big Roman Reigns win in the main event. Roman Reigns saves the day for the Blue Brand, which was well on its way to having another night like it did in 2018 when it got fucking embarrassed by Monday Night Raw. This was not a good night for SmackDown at all. Not a lot to really sing home about there. But you will hear a lot of people talking about that women's elimination match, which was not very good. It was very messy, and the crowd reaction, I think, spoke volumes. It's not that the crowd was tired. You can come up with any excuse you want. We knew coming into this pay-per-view that WWE put in the bare minimum effort to promote the matches that were on this show. They gave no reason whatsoever to be excited about any of this brand versus brand bullshit. It's just a gimmick. They plug it in every year. They put in the bare minimum effort. Now Survivor Series is over. It's going to be like it never happened. Everybody goes back to their respective clubhouse, and things go back to normal. And that's what Survivor Series, unfortunately, has become. You're going to see a lot of very upset people that The Rock was not on the show tonight. Now, I told you The Rock was not going to be on this show. Why would The Rock want to have anything to do with these shows? Have you seen a lot of these television shows lately that they've been producing? Why would The Rock even want to be associated with these shows? Number one. But, The Rock is a busy guy, and he's, filming movie after movie after movie, and he's got his, tequila, and he's got all this shit going on. If The Rock was going to be at Survivor Series, they would have promoted The Rock for Survivor Series. I'm sure they wanted to promote The Rock for Survivor Series. The Rock got more airtime than anybody else on Survivor Series tonight. They had vignettes all throughout the night talking about the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut at Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden in 1996. And the way that it was kind of building with these segments throughout the entire show, and then the egg bullshit with Vince McMahon, because the egg was tied into this Netflix movie that was sponsoring the pay-per-view tonight, The Rock's new Netflix movie. So I'm thinking, okay, Vince McMahon is there. He's got the egg. We've got all these Rock segments. On commentary, they're talking about The Rock. They have a battle royal dedicated to The Rock. This was pathetic. This was Vince McMahon's love letter to The Rock, and The Rock couldn't even be bothered to show up because why would he? Why would he? But you would watch this pay-per-view. This was like one big giant celebration of The Rock. He couldn't even be bothered to make an appearance. But even they had me thinking as the show went along, well, maybe this must be leading to something. Vince McMahon and the fucking egg? What's he making, an egg salad sandwich? Maybe they are building to The Rock. Maybe The Rock is going to make a surprise cameo at the end and surprise me and surprise everybody. And he's going to bring the egg back out to Vince McMahon. I found your egg, and it's The Rock. And everybody's going to cheer, and he's going to have a face-to-face stare down with Roman Reigns. Nope. Roman Reigns wins in the main event, and they go off the air, and Vince McMahon, the manhunt is on for the egg. Now, I'm here in Brooklyn. I could be part of the search party. I'm a little bit busy right now, but when we're done here, I could wake up bright and early. I could join the search party. Apparently, this egg is worth $100 million. So I know what I'll be doing on Monday morning. I'm hitting the streets of Brooklyn. And I'm going to be looking for an egg. Vince McMahon didn't just lose his egg. The man lost his marbles a long time ago. I don't know what the fuck those segments were. But they had no business being on the show. Hit that thumbs up. And super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen. And thank you to everybody who has sent one in. I'm going to read all your super chats. I want to know what you guys think of the egg. That's what I want to know. Raw is egg, indeed. We got a lot to get into here. Vince McMahon laid a giant egg tonight. The kickoff match was champion against champion, Raw versus SmackDown. United States champion Damian Priest taking on the Intercontinental champion Shinsuke Nakamura with Rick Boogs in his corner. Pretty standard stuff from these two. Priest was getting sick of Boogs playing the guitar at ringside. And he looked over at him and he said to him, "Don't do that again. Final warning." So Priest went for a springboard move. Nakamura, though, caught him coming off the ropes with a knee to the head. Nakamura was setting up for the Kinshasa, but Priest cut him off, hit a Uranage for a near fall. So now Priest is setting up for the Reckoning, which is his finish. Nakamura avoids it, rolls him into a cross arm breaker. Priest transitions into a go-go plata. And he's got the submission locked on Nakamura when all of a sudden, Rick Boogs plays the guitar again. And this incenses Damian Priest. And we've seen him have these sort of little psychotic fits on TV in recent weeks where his eyes get real big and it looks like he's about to snap and go off on somebody, and he looked like he was about to go off on Rick Boogs. So he goes outside and he grabs the guitar out of Boogs' hands. He breaks it across his knee, hits Boogs with a piece of the guitar. Nakamura comes outside. He hits Nakamura with the guitar and gets himself disqualified. And Damian Priest walks out to boos from the crowd. And that is how this match ended. Hell of a way to kick things off here. With a disqualification bullshit finish here at the end of this match. The match itself was okay. The finish obviously was lame and stupid. And that would not be the only lame and stupid finish on the show, which, by the way, was the other story of the night. And the other problem you run into with a lot of these Raw versus SmackDown brand versus brand matches is that, especially with the bigger names, is that you don't want anybody to lose. You want people to be able to save face. You want to protect your talent. And so what you end up with are, I think we only had the one DQ, but we had a DQ. We had multiple countouts. We had people cheating. But it was like back to back to back to back to back. So we started with a DQ finish here in this match. Now, backstage during the kickoff show is where we got the first glimpse of Vince McMahon. I don't know what Vince McMahon is doing or has done, the way he's pickling himself. His face is disturbing. It doesn't look like him. I don't know who this person is. It looks like an animatronic wax figure of Vince McMahon. I don't know if it's just Botox. I don't know if he's had some kind of other cosmetic surgery, you know, where his face basically can't move, his eyebrows, he looks like the fucking devil. I don't know what he has done to himself. His voice, of course, is completely shot from doing the Mr. McMahon voice all these years. You know, "You're fired," and he can barely speak. I could barely hear what he's even saying when he talks. What has happened to this man? But Vince McMahon emerges from a stretch limousine that arrives at the arena. And he has a greeting party there. Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, and, you know, what's left of the mid-card who has not yet been fired, but will be, no doubt, within the next few months. So they're there to greet Vince McMahon, and he emerges from the limo. And they're all applauding like seals. "Yay! Vince McMahon, please don't fire me." And they're clapping. And Vince emerges from the limousine, and he brandishes a golden egg. And the first thing I thought of was Octopussy. If you are a James Bond fan and you are a fan of Roger Moore, who in my opinion is the best Bond, because I grew up on him, Octopussy, there's a golden egg in that movie as well. So it made me think of that. It made me think of Octopussy. Although Vince McMahon, he ain't no Bond. He looks like a Bond villain, but he ain't no Bond. So he's got this egg, and everybody's kind of looking like, what the fuck is going on here? What's with this guy? So that was on the kickoff show. Now, if you look at the kickoff show as a way to get people interested in, let's say, buying the pay-per-view or subscribing to Peacock, or just getting people excited for Survivor Series, because I thought that was the whole point of the kickoff show. Sometimes they would take these exciting matches that people were like, "Oh, how can you bump that to the kickoff show?" And the excuse would be, well, come on, you want to have an exciting match on the kickoff show, right? It's a compliment to these guys. Well, then you send out Damian Priest and Shinsuke Nakamura with some bullshit DQ finish, and you follow that up with Vince McMahon coming out of a limousine with an egg. How many people are going to look at that and go, "Man, I am excited to see Survivor Series now. I was on the fence before, but fuck, I got to see what happens with this egg. Maybe something will pop out of the egg." So this kickoff show was just a fucking fail in every way. But we opened the main card. We finally got to the good stuff. And this right here was the best part of the entire show. Was the opening match on the main card here at Survivor Series. We had Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Pat McAfee on commentary for this. Sean Ross Sapp reported that this match here, the match that opened the show, which was the women's match between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, had been penciled in at one point as the main event. They were going to close out the show tonight. Which, from a match perspective, it would have been a hell of a match to close out the show with. The finish, that's not the finish I would have done at the end of the night, so maybe that's why they moved it, but apparently it got bumped and they flipped. It was going to be Roman Reigns and Big E opening the show, and instead it was the women, and Roman and Big E ended up closing the show. Mike Johnson of PW Insider backed that up. He reported the same thing, and he said the lineup got flipped at about 5:45 p.m., so about an hour before the kickoff show went on the air. They changed the match order of the card for whatever reason. Maybe they finally settled on what the finishes were going to be. And again, I ask, why is it coming down to the wire like that? But these women, they fought like it. These two women in this match went at it and had the kind of match and were aggressive. They had the kind of match that you would have if they were extra motivated. If they maybe had been told that they were going to go on in the main event and then were told, well, we're going to put you in the opener instead. I wouldn't be surprised if that lit a fire under their asses. The intensity between these two, I thought, was off the charts for this match. And Becky comes out and was giving off Scarlet Witch vibes with that red gear that she was wearing. Becky was ready to go right at Charlotte from the opening bell. Bell rings and they just go right at it. Now, if you're going to work a match as if the two people in it have legitimate heat with each other, and again, this is a mix of both, because I do believe that these two are not fond of each other anymore. They're not best friends the way they used to be. I believe that's legit. But did they play up all of this hatred because they wanted to promote the match on the pay-per-view? Of course. Of course. They worked it. They embellished. That's what you do when you have a match to promote. But they went out there and they acted like two people who wanted to rip each other apart. If Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair would have gone to the ring tonight at the beginning of this match and went for a collar and elbow tie-up, you can't do that in a match like this with this kind of heat going into it. So they went at it right away like two people who didn't like each other. Becky tried to fight back when Flair went after her leg. Flair then slammed her shoulder first into the ring post. Charlotte goes up to the top rope. She's going for some kind of move. Maybe the moonsault. And Becky, though, gets up and she shoves Charlotte off the top rope. And Charlotte goes flying into the barricade, all the way down into the barricade. Charlotte recovers, and she drops Becky with a back suplex on top of the barricade. And Pat McAfee calls out the New York Mets fan in the front row, the fan wearing Mets gear in the front row, and says, that guy knows what misery is all about. And as a Mets fan, I can vouch for that. Pat McAfee, he was dead on with that assessment. We know what misery is all about. It's like the worst combination. I'm a WWE fan who subjects himself to Monday Night Raw each and every week, and I'm a New York Mets fan, so I'm getting it from both sides. So you gotta have sympathy for me. Hey Malik, what's going on? I see you. So they get back in the ring and slowly, and the camera zooms in, and they got these mean expressions on their faces, like they're ready to just go at it. And we got a slap battle between the two of them. Becky went for an armbar, but Charlotte countered out of it with a powerbomb for a near fall. Charlotte went for a moonsault. Becky, though, rolls out of the way. Charlotte lands on her feet and then does the Andrade standing moonsault, lands on Becky and gets a 2 count. Becky catches Charlotte at that point with a draping leg drop to the back of her neck while Charlotte is hanging across the middle rope. And later on, Becky missed the leg drop off the top, but she came back and hit the manhandle slam. Flair, though, she's got those long legs. And so she was able to get one on the bottom rope Becky locks on the figure 4 leg lock, big pop. Flair and Becky, they're trading slaps while in the hold. And Charlotte reversed the figure 4 to break the hold. Flair knocked Lynch off the apron. And so now Becky is on the floor. And up to the top goes Charlotte Flair, and she's going for her moonsault, and it looked terrible as always. She completely over-rotated. She barely clipped Becky on the way down. She does this every single time. It looks terrible every single fucking time. I don't know why she insists on doing it, but I will continue to say it. It looked terrible. Back inside, Charlotte and Charlotte is very good. So why she insists on continuing to do a move that looks so terrible is beyond me. Back inside, Charlotte puts Becky in her own version of the disarm her. She's using Becky's hold against her. Lynch, though, makes it to the ropes. And for the finish, Charlotte Flair rolls up Becky Lynch and is holding the ropes while trying to pin her. The referee sees that Charlotte has the rope and he breaks the count. But then Becky rolls up Charlotte. And if you were paying attention, Becky had the presence of mind to watch the referee to make sure that the referee was not watching her. And when the referee had reached 2, Becky grabbed the rope. Ref didn't see it. She grabbed the rope for some added leverage, and it worked for her. And she got the pin. And so Becky Lynch wins the match. It's a cheap finish, but I actually thought it worked here. I thought it did work. That finish was probably as good as they could come up with to keep the two of them happy, if we're being honest here. I mean, Becky cheats to win. It protects Charlotte, who you will notice, and this bothered me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And Charlotte has done this before. This is not the first time that Charlotte has done this. Charlotte loses. She gets pinned, right? And so she gets up. She gets her championship. She's got a big smile on her face. She's basically laughing. Totally no selling the finish, and she walks off smiling. And that was her way of selling how, I guess, upset she was, representing SmackDown, that she lost this match. Big smile on her face as she left the ringside area. They went 18 minutes. This was very good. They definitely worked it like two women who don't really care much for each other. And I think that finish pretty much said it all. Now they go back to their respective brands. Charlotte goes back to SmackDown. Becky goes back to Raw. It's like it never even happened. It's like a dream. And they don't have anything to do with each other, I don't think, going forward. But as far as in-ring action is concerned, this was the best thing on the entire show. This is where the show peaked. I thought this was the best match on the entire show. However, even though I said the finish worked in this instance for this match, keep in mind, second match of the night, counting the pre-show, we went from a DQ finish in the first Raw versus SmackDown match to a fuck finish in the second Raw versus SmackDown match. So we still, at this point, have yet to have a clean, clear winner in any of the matches so far. So keep that in mind. We had the men's 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match with Team Raw represented by Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory against Team SmackDown, which was represented by Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, King Xavier Woods, and Happy Corbin, with Madcap Moss at ringside in his corner. Welcome, by the way, to all the people who have filed in here. This is your Survivor Series recap, the final pay-per-view of the year. Do hit that thumbs up if you are just joining. Jeff Hardy got the loudest reaction of anybody in this match, live in the building, because I had a couple of friends who were at the show tonight who live locally, and they said the same thing, because it came across that way watching on TV. But even the people in the building said by far Jeff got the biggest reaction, the biggest babyface reaction coming out. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, especially after his performance here tonight. When Jeff Hardy got, when the draft was over, and we knew that, Hardy and Roman, they're on the same brand now, you could get at least one pay-per-view match out of a Jeff Hardy program, a Jeff Hardy chase, one last Jeff Hardy chase for the championship. The people love this man. They will get behind him. He's not the same Jeff Hardy physically that he was even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. He's been through a lot. He's older. He doesn't move around quite the way that he used to. But he is still one of the most beloved baby faces in that entire company. And it's all about story. And if you tell the right story, I think you can get at least one pay-per-view match out of Jeff Hardy trying to take the title from Roman Reigns. Even if most people don't believe that he would take the title from Roman. Nobody believes in anybody on that roster outside of Brock Lesnar, maybe Drew McIntyre. They have done a poor job of building anybody else up who could be a believable challenger to Roman Reigns. So you may as well plug Jeff Hardy in there. You could do it in January. You could do it in February leading up to WrestleMania. Tonight was just affirmation of that. This guy's got a lot of fans out there. Play into that. Don't keep abusing him the way that they've been booking him on television the last couple of years, and they just make him look like a fucking jabron. Play into it. Lean into it. This guy is a star in the eyes of your audience. They want to see him succeed. They want to see him do well. It'll put more heat on Roman when he comes close, but then Roman beats him in the end. Owens and Rollins argued at the beginning of this match over who is going to begin for Team Raw. And they were having a back and forth argument about it. Owens won the argument. He won out, and he was trying to hype up the crowd, getting them all amped up here. And then as soon as the bell rang, Owens bailed to the floor. And he got himself counted out. And I laughed. Shout out to Robotech on Twitter who told me they did the Survivor Series Bad News Brown finish. I had forgotten that I think they actually did that a couple of years in a row. Where Bad News Brown, he was kind of a loner and he was on at least a couple of Survivor Series teams, 2 or 3 of them, where he ends up not getting along with his teammates and just walking out. And that's what they did here, kind of. They did the Bad News Brown finish. Only I don't remember Bad News Brown leaving right at the beginning of the match. But it's exactly what heel Kevin Owens would do. He did tell the pre-show panel on the kickoff show. He did, bust in and interrupt them at one point and tell them that tonight he's going to show us who he really is. He's going to show us the real Kevin Owens. And that's what we got here. We saw the real Kevin Owens, who is a raging asshole when he is a heel. That is the Kevin Owens that we saw here, especially after everybody on the Raw roster a few weeks ago doubted him when he was going around. You believe me, right? You believe me. I didn't know when Seth Rollins interfered in that match a few weeks ago when I was in there with Big E and nobody would believe him. He had every right to do what he did tonight. None of you people believe me. You all mocked me. You turned your back on me. So you know what? Fuck you. That was one big fuck you to the rest of Team Raw. You don't believe in me? You can go on without me. So it fit his persona to a T. I thought that was great. But again, the problem is you do something like this. Kevin Owens gets counted out. So Kevin Owens is the first man eliminated here in this match. They did 2 more countouts because they did a double countout with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre because they didn't want to beat them, especially Drew. But they also didn't want him to win. So, what are we going to do? So this was the first of 3 countouts in this match, which means we had a DQ in the kickoff match. We had a fuck finish in the opening match with Becky and Charlotte. And we have 3 countouts in this elimination match. Back to back to back. You can't be doing that. You just can't be doing that. That is just a lack of quality control right there, because people look at that and they go, what's going on here with this show? Why can't we get a decent finish? And you're only 3 matches in. 3 countouts in this one match. Maybe more. Am I missing one? I think it was 3. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 4, but I think it was 3. But anyway, Finn Balor pinned Baron Corbin with the coup de grace to even things up, which made the match 4-on-4. Team Raw isolated Jeff Hardy. They took turns working him over, and Hardy came back with a whisper in the wind on Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, which Jimmy Smith referred to as a swanton bomb before he was quickly corrected. Bobby Lashley speared Xavier Woods and put him in the hurt lock for the ref stoppage, so Woods was gone. Poor guy. He already lost his crown. He doesn't have his crown anymore, and here he gets put out by Bobby Lashley. So McIntyre and Lashley go face-to-face. We got ourselves a little rematch from WrestleMania this year and Hell in a Cell. They brawled around ringside. They brawled out over the barricade, and eventually the referee just counted them out. And the fans were not happy about that. And they get back in the ring, and Lashley jumps Drew, and Drew hits the Claymore kick and takes down Lashley. Seth Rollins kind of taps Drew on the shoulder, and he's laughing, and he's mocking him, and Drew gives him the Glasgow kiss, headbutt right to the face. And Sheamus tries to take advantage. He goes for the quick pin, but Rollins kicks out. Balor goes for the coup de grace. Sheamus moves out of the way, though, and hits the brogue kick. And it's bye-bye Balor. So it came down to Seth Rollins and Austin Theory, two heels on the Raw side, and Sheamus and Jeff Hardy on the SmackDown side. Sheamus, I actually thought this was kind of a fun spot. Sheamus played the role of Matt Hardy here in this match, and he dropped down on all fours so that Jeff could hit poetry in motion on Rollins and Austin Theory in the corner. Then they did the, Sheamus does the 10 pounding of the chest 10 times, and he had Jeff Hardy do the same thing to Austin Theory while he did it to Seth Rollins. So Sheamus and Jeff Hardy have a history together, if you remember, going back to the Thunderdome shows. But they were working together here as a cohesive unit. That would not last. Rollins pulled Hardy off the apron, so Sheamus had nobody to tag. And when he realized he had nobody to tag, Austin Theory rolled up Sheamus, he surprised him, and he pinned him. And so Theory eliminates Sheamus. Sheamus comes back, he hits Theory with a clothesline, he knocks down Jeff Hardy with a clothesline. Rollins tags in, hits a frog splash on Jeff for a very close near fall. Hardy makes a comeback, hits the Swanton Bomb on Austin Theory for the elimination, so it came down to one-on-one Seth Rollins and Jeff Hardy. And again, the people like Jeff, so they were into this, and they were chanting his name, and they really wanted to see him win. They were hopeful that he could pull it out. Rollins went for the stomp, Hardy caught his boot, and Hardy hit the twist of fate. He went up for another Swanton Bomb, but this time he comes down, and Rollins gets the knees up, and he finishes him off with a curb stomp. So Seth Rollins is the sole survivor for Team Raw. That makes 2 years in a row that Team Raw has bested Team SmackDown. I thought that it was a good match. It had entertaining parts, so I was entertained overall by the match. I like that they let Hardy go to the end, even though he didn't win, which is fine, but I like the fact that they actually, for once, didn't treat him like a jobber. They didn't treat him like some piece of trash. And people in Brooklyn loved it because, again, they like Jeff. So it made sense to let him go all the way to the end, let people believe he might have a chance to win. And Rollins is, he's the bastard, so he pulls it out in the end, and it makes him more hated. So I thought that was smart. One of the few smart things they did on this show. Backstage, here we go. Here we go with this egg business. Security guard is standing in front of Vince McMahon's office. And Roman Reigns shows up and he knocks on the door and he goes inside and he shakes hands with Vince. And he's got his golden egg in a glass case sitting on his desk. And Roman is sitting down and Vince is talking about the egg and how this is the real thing and this is not a stage prop. From the movie, it's the real thing, and it's worth $100 million, and Reigns said that that was almost as much as my next contract before he walked out. It's going to take a lot more releases, I guess, to free up all that money for Roman Reigns' next contract. But if Nick Khan is up to the challenge, and I believe he is, he welcomes the challenge. He's already putting his next list together of who he can have John Laurinaitis call and get rid of. That way they can afford to pay for Roman's next $100 million contract. Speaking of releases, we had the 25-man Rock Memorial. It was like the guy's fucking dead or something. It's like a Rock tribute battle royal, 25-man battle royal in honor of his 25th anniversary in WWE. With members of the Raw and SmackDown rosters where everybody wears their red shirts and everybody wears their blue shirts. I'm just watching this match thinking, how many of these people are actually going to be employed by WWE and working for this company in 3 months? Probably not too many of them. Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, and Omos, Ricochet, and the Street Profits were the only ones who got ring entrances. So those, you could kind of tell, right, who the real stars are based on who gets entrances and who doesn't. So they got entrances. Everybody else was already in the ring. This was one big commercial for Pizza Hut. They had a cross promotion going with Pizza Hut. The Street Profits came out. They had boxes of pizza. They went down to the ring. They're showing the pizza. They give this box of pizza to Michael Cole after kind of faking out Byron Saxton. They gave it to Cole. Cole called Byron Saxton a nerd, which, holy fuck, I mean, what more can I say about that? I mean, pot calling the kettle black there, but this was one big pizza commercial, basically. So the match starts, the bell rings, this battle royal for pizza begins, and AJ Styles jumps out of the ring, and he jumps on top of the announce desk, and he's basically a cheerleader. He's starting the match out on the announce desk. Omos, who eliminated a number of people in this match. The first elimination was Drew Gulak, so Gulak is gone. R-Truth goes outside. He grabs a slice of pizza. By the way, I have not had Pizza Hut. I haven't had pizza probably in 7 or 8 years because the whole cheese thing, but I used to have those Pizza Hut pan pizzas, and I used to think they were really good. But that was many, 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 many years ago. And the last time I had Pizza Hut, which was several years later, it was shit. So I will defer to you guys. You've probably had Pizza Hut a lot more recently than I have. Has Pizza Hut gotten any better? Or is it still as shitty as it was the last time I had it? But in any event, that's my pizza question to all of you. It's not as good as New York City pizza is, but New York City pizza at least beats whatever the hell that is in Chicago. Anyway, we move on here. R-Truth takes the slice of pizza and he brings it into the ring. So now they're doing comedy. They should have had the 24/7 Brigade come out, but I guess they were already in the ring. And the other guys are gone. Drake Maverick is gone. So they were either already in the Battle Royal or they were fired this past week. So no 24/7 Brigade to run out to the ring. But R-Truth is in the ring. And Otis takes the pizza. And Otis begins to eat the pizza in the middle of this Battle Royal. And R-Truth gives him a pat on the back. And that leads to Otis eliminating him. I guess he doesn't like being patted on the back. Omos and Otis square off. Omos eliminates him. Ricochet eliminated T-Bar. Mansoor eliminated Cedric Alexander. Omos and Shanky had a stare down in the middle of the ring. This didn't really get over, I think, the way they had wanted it to. Because nobody believed that Shanky was getting one over on Omos, I don't think. Omos tossed him out of the ring fairly quickly. Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode eliminated Mansoor. Omos eliminated Big Bob. Dolph Ziggler wanted to be nice and make friends with Omos, and while they're interacting, or Ziggler is talking to him, here comes AJ Styles from out of nowhere with the phenomenal forearm, and that takes down Dolph, and it's bye-bye Dolph. I'm sure he'll live to be in many more meaningless battle royals, but on this night, this was not, unfortunately for him, his night. Sami Zayn is trying to get Cesaro and Ricochet to work together. He's like, we should all work together because we're all members of the Smackdown roster. We should be working together here. And you know what? Sami's right. I thought tonight was all about brand warfare. Whatever happened to Raw versus SmackDown? This is what I'm talking about. Everybody from Raw and everybody from SmackDown, in the weeks leading up to the show and even tonight, they were more interested in going at each other than they were working together against the other brand. Sami's right. Why wouldn't the members of SmackDown work together to get rid of all the red shirts so that when Team Raw is gone, then they can go at it, and you've now guaranteed that SmackDown gets the win? You know why they don't care? Because there's nothing on the fucking line. That's why. If there was something on the line, a championship match, or, the winning brand, there's some kind of prize. There's a pot of gold at the end of the tunnel. We'll find out what it is. Sonya Deville will let us know on SmackDown this week if SmackDown gets the win. Whatever. Then maybe they would actually work together. But they know there's nothing on the line in this. This doesn't mean a fucking thing. So, of course, what's the incentive for them to work together? We don't like Sami. Let's just beat him up, which is what they did. They beat the crap out of Sami Zayn. And the Street Profits eliminated Zayn. Omos and Commander Aziz had a stare down. Omos clotheslined him out of the ring. Styles was yakking at Aziz, who tried to pull him out over the top rope, but Omos grabbed AJ's feet. So it's like a tug of war now, where you got the two giants and they're grabbing, and poor AJ is being pulled in either direction. Apollo Crews, though, hits Omos from behind, and that causes him to lose his grip, and poor AJ falls to the floor, and he is eliminated. Omos turns around, he eliminates Apollo. Came down to Omos, Ricochet, Cesaro, and the Street Profits. Omos eliminated Cesaro and Angelo Dawkins to reach 10 eliminations. And Montez Ford tried to fight back. Omos, though, dumped him out of the ring next. And it came down one-on-one. Omos and our boy Rick O'Shea, who, of course, stood no chance. But he tried, and he hit Omos with a drop kick. Omos, though, quickly recovered and threw him out of the ring for the win. 12 eliminations in total for Omos. So he has planted his flag firmly in the ground. I don't know that anybody at Survivor Series in history, either in an elimination match or a battle royal, has ever had 12 eliminations in a single night on this show. So I assume that's a new record. And I guess Omos wins the pizza. He wins the Pizza Hut. AJ gets back in the ring, and he is celebrating with Omos. Now, I thought that elimination spot earlier where he accidentally dropped AJ and caused him to be eliminated was going to potentially be the start of some friction between AJ and Omos, and maybe the slow breakup of their team, because they've been together now for so long. I don't know, come on. AJ Styles, at this point, AJ has had a nice break. His body has had a nice break from the rigors of a singles career now for many, many, many months, but they need stars on their show. AJ is a star. Randy Orton, he's another one. He's in the RK Bro, very popular. Fine, let RK Bro be. AJ Styles, he needs to get back into the singles division. This AJ Styles and Omos stuff, they could be associated, but as far as just keeping AJ stuck and mired in this fucking tag team, enough already. They held the belts, then they challenged to get the belts back. They failed. Why are they still together as a team? Why can't AJ start branching out back into the singles ranks and keep Omos with him as his muscle, as his heavy? But they need stars on that show in that singles division, and AJ Styles, I think, needs to be utilized in that way. But apparently no friction, because AJ got back into the ring and he was all smiles and he was celebrating with Omos and he was, very happy to see him get the win. And then he points to the pizza. So I was wrong, actually, when I said there was nothing on the line. There was something on the line in this match. WWE took my advice. And they said, we're going to make something, we're going to put something on the line here in this match. I didn't know that it was going to be in the form of a pizza box. But before they can snatch up the pizza, here comes Montez Ford. And he knocks down AJ Styles, and the Street Profits stole the pizza. And Montez begins chucking slices of pizza into the crowd. If I was in the audience and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, and I got smacked in the head, upside the head by some greasy piece of Pizza Hut pizza, I'd be pretty pissed off. I would not want to be hit in the face by one of those things. You get a fucking grease spot on your face. It'd be grease dripping down the side of your face. So the Street Profits run away, and this was a waste of time, is what this was. This was every battle royal the WWE has every television battle royal that you've ever seen in WWE. But it was stupid. It was a waste of time. It set up Omos as a monster, but he was already a monster. He's been booked like a monster now for the whole year. Did we really need a battle royal to position Omos as a monster? It was a way to get these people on the show because they couldn't figure out what to do with them. But this battle royal was a waste of time. We had the Raw Tag Team Champions, RK Bro, against the Smackdown Tag Team Champions, the Usos. With this match, Randy Orton now owns the record for the most pay-per-view matches in WWE history. He is now the record holder all time. And I believe if he wrestles on Raw tomorrow night, he will set the record for the most number of matches in the history of Monday Night Raw for any one individual. Riddle sent Jimmy Uso to the floor and hit a dive. Jay then took advantage and knocked Riddle off the apron into the barricade. And so at that point, the Usos took over on offense. Orton got the hot tag after the middle of the match. I thought the middle of the match was pretty boring. I was just waiting for this thing to end. Finally, Orton gets the hot tag and runs wild. He went for the draping DDT, but Jay pulled him out of the ring. Orton slammed Jay on the announce desk and then slammed Jimmy on the desk, and Pat McAfee yelled, 2 Usos, 1 table. See how many of you get that reference. Orton set up for the RKO on Jay, but he escaped, and Jay nailed Orton with a super kick. He fell into his corner, though, and so Riddle tagged himself in. And he went to work, and Riddle hit a senton on Jimmy. He went for one on Jay, but Jay got the knees up. Usos hit a pop-up Samoan drop on Riddle for a near fall. Riddle tagged in Orton, but Jimmy did not see it, and that's the key. Jimmy Uso did not see it. Hey, King Zoo just subscribed. Asuka gives you a thumbs up. I hope Asuka's doing well. We haven't seen her in a while. I know she was out recovering from some kind of, I don't know if she had a broken wrist or she had some kind of a hand injury, because I remember seeing her in a cast. But I miss Asuka. Hopefully we'll get her back on TV very soon. But Jimmy did not see the tag, so he was oblivious to it. And he knocked Orton to the floor, not knowing that he was the legal man. And he went for the Uso splash on Matt Riddle. And as Jimmy comes off the top rope, Randy Orton jumps up and he hits the RKO. Perfect RKO on Jimmy, rolls him over, and gets the pin for the victory. I thought the RKO finish was fantastic. It looked great, but the match itself was pretty boring. It was a pretty dull match. And Randy Orton adds to his resume as Mr. Survivor Series. I talked about this on the podcast earlier today. People talk about who's Mr. this and Mr. that. Randy Orton has cemented himself as Mr. Survivor Series over the years. And with that finish, he only adds to that resume. Hey, Sheikah Toon just became a Sound Off channel member, a Sound Off superstar. There's Beavis. Welcome to the channel. Have a seat, grab a drink. We still have the main event to get to here. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville met with Vince McMahon. Oh, but first we have this. Lovely. Forgot about this egg nonsense. They're in the back in Vince's office. Actually, Vince is not at his desk. He comes sauntering in. I don't know, maybe he went to go take a shit. So he comes into the office. And he sits down, he starts talking, but then he looks over and he realizes that something is missing. And what's missing is his egg. His egg is gone. Someone has stolen his egg. And he tells DeVille and Pierce to call the cops and find his egg. I naively thought that this was building to something. This is where I thought, okay, maybe The Rock is going to show up on this show. Because before this, I said, The Rock's not going to be here. People are going to get their hopes up, and even if he shows up, he's not going to do anything, you know? Maybe he'll have a little stare down, but that's it. They're not doing Rock and Roman next year. We know that. So there would be no point in him showing up to have any kind of stare down with Roman Reigns. But I'm starting to think, man, this egg, the segments, the vignettes showing Rock's matches from over the years, it's building to something. Now they're going to be back in Barclays tomorrow night for Raw. Maybe it'll build to something on Raw tomorrow night. Obviously, this is going somewhere. This storyline is not over yet. There's going to be some kind of payoff, one would think. I know, WWE doesn't always finish these stories out. They've dropped plenty of storylines before. But now I am morbidly curious about what is going to happen with this fucking egg. We didn't find out here on this show. But Vince freaked out about his egg. That's going to be the story of Survivor Series this year. We had an egg back in 1990. At least somebody popped out of the fucking thing and danced around the ring with Mean Gene Okerlund. We didn't even get that. We had the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match with Team Raw, represented by Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina against Team Smackdown, rep by Sasha Banks, Shotzi Blackheart, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, and Toni Storm. Carmella and Toni Storm started things out, and Carmella hit Toni with a forearm, and then she stopped. And she said, I got to get my mask. She has that protective mask. She goes to get it, and she's having issues with it, and Zelina tried putting it on her, but Rhea Ripley knocked it out of her hands. Carmella yelled at Rhea, and Toni Storm rolled her up for the first elimination of the match. So Carmella was gone. After that, things got very boring. Things got very boring in this match. The crowd in Brooklyn started a wave. I don't think I've seen a wave at a WWE show since they brought crowds back in July. So we got to see the return of the wave. They chanted CM Punk. And, you know, it's not a case where they started chanting CM Punk and then it died out. The people in the truck muted that shit real quick. So they were chanting CM Punk and they were chanting other things. And finally, this crowd came alive for the first confrontation between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. The match that we did not get at SummerSlam, the match that we should have gotten tonight, but did not. Belair hit a fallaway slam. Sasha recovered and hit a tornado DDT for a near fall. Bianca hit a spine buster for 2, and Belair went for the KOD, but Banks landed on her feet, grabbed hold of her braid, and Bianca pressed Zelina Vega into the air, because Zelina Vega's like 80 pounds. So she could press her over her head with her pinky finger if she wants. And she pressed her and she dumped her on top of Sasha for a near fall. Toni Storm then eliminated Zelina Vega. Liv Morgan rolled up Toni Storm for a near fall. Baszler, though, jumped into the ring and Morgan tossed Baszler to the floor, hit the Oblivion on Storm, and eliminated Toni Storm. So thanks for coming. Hey, at least they gave Toni Storm a couple of eliminations. You know what else they could give Toni Storm? Television time. Because none of this shit matters if she's off SmackDown this week. They've reintroduced her. Okay, put her on the show now. No more of this shit where she pops up once like the fucking groundhog and then you don't see her for another year. She needs to be on SmackDown. They have to start establishing her so that she can be a key part of that women's division on that show. They need that. They need help. They need more faces to get over. Toni Storm should be one of those people. So Baszler locked on the Karafuda clutch on Liv Morgan, but she backed her into the corner. Shotzi tagged in and climbed to the top, but Banks tagged herself in. Shotzi hit a splash, but then Sasha came off with a splash, and she eliminated Liv Morgan from the match. Shotzi and Baszler worked together and eliminated Rhea Ripley. And it came down to Sasha Banks, Shotzi Blackheart, Shayna Baszler, and Natalya against Bianca Belair all by herself. 4-on-1 advantage for Team SmackDown. So you would think, boy, finally, SmackDown's going to get a win here on this show. Oh, is that what you thought? Is that what you thought? Did you really think that? Did you really think they were going to put SmackDown over here? Silly, 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 silly boy. So Sasha tagged in. Shotzi, though, tried to stop her. Because remember, Sasha and Shotzi don't like each other. They have issues. And so they start arguing at ringside. They're outside the ring. And every time Sasha Banks, who is the legal person in this match, every time she tries to get back into the ring, Shotzi pulls her out. The referee is still counting. Shotzi pulls her out. Shayna pulls her out so they could argue. And then Sasha goes to go back in. Here's Natty. Natty pulls her out. Referee's still counting. And eventually the referee counted to 10. And Sasha Banks was eliminated. This was fucking stupid. And not just because we had another fucking count out on this show. Sasha Banks, no less than twice in trying to get back into the ring, was basically in the ring. 70% of her body was under the bottom rope in the ring, and the referee kept counting. He kept counting. There was no break in the count. That looked incredibly stupid. And I don't want to hear, well, her feet have to be in the ring. Since when does WWE give a shit about the rules? Don't give me that shit. She was in the fucking ring at least twice. So it looked incredibly stupid. And they counted her out anyway. And the crowd booed because they didn't want to see Sasha get eliminated that way. Because that's fucking lame. And her teammates look like a bunch of dumbasses because, again, brand warfare. They're supposed to care. They want their brand to win. They're supposed to put their differences aside. Couldn't do it. And so they let their team captain get eliminated. And what happened? What happened to Team Smackdown in this match? I'll give you one guess what happened to Team Smackdown in this match. After they caused Sasha Banks to be eliminated. Natalya went for the sharpshooter on Bianca. Broke free, though. And knocked Natty into Shayna. And Bianca used a small package to eliminate Natalya. So now it's 3-on-1. And Bianca then very quickly eliminates Shayna Baszler from the match. Eventually, it comes down to 1-on-1. It is Bianca Belair on one side. It is Shotzi Blackheart on the other. She has worked her way back from an impossible deficit. And these two women go at it for a little bit. There was stuff, Shotzi was doing stuff that just did not look good. I mean, there were some moves that she hit here that it looked like shit. So I don't know if it was an off night for her or what, but this looked, some of the stuff she was doing in there just looked very weak. But in the end, Bianca hits the KOD and she gets the win. And Bianca Belair is the sole survivor for Team Raw in this match. SmackDown blew a 4-1 lead, like they were the New York Mets. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory is the best way I can describe it. Very much, very Mets-like, very Mets-esque, I must say, by Team SmackDown. Very appropriate that Team SmackDown wears blue. I just realized that. The match, I didn't think it was a very good match at all. It had its moments. I liked the brief time that Sasha and Bianca were in the ring together because those two worked very well together and they had a great match this year at WrestleMania. But this was no good. And I'm not even going to put it all at the feet of the audience how they were reacting to it because they were fucking bored. Because again, the way the WWE built to this show and promoted this show was shit. They did a shit job of promoting Survivor Series this year. They put in the minimum amount of effort. The fans then give you back the minimum amount of effort. The fans give you what you give them. They will reciprocate. That's what the fans did in this match. And I felt bad because the women were working hard, but this match was just not fun. This was just not a good match. I was not a fan of this match. Caleb Braxton caught up with Paul Heyman in the back. Wanted to get his thoughts on Brock Lesnar's suspension no longer being indefinite. It's the first I'm hearing of this. And apparently it was the first that Paul Heyman was hearing of this because he had this shocked expression on his face. And then he told her to go ask Adam Pearce. And he walked off. And Brock is being advertised for SmackDown on December 10th. I think they're in Los Angeles. I guess it would be the Staples Center. Or what will now be the Crypto.com Arena. I'm sorry. I don't know when the name change takes effect, but now it is no longer the Staples Center in LA. It is now the Crypto.com Arena. I stand corrected. But they were advertising Brock Lesnar for that show. And funny enough, not advertising Roman Reigns. I can't imagine Roman would not be at a SmackDown in LA, but Brock is on his way back. We're not going to have to wait until the Royal Rumble. And boy, do they need him back. Main event, we had WWE Champion Big E representing Monday Night Raw against the Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief himself, the only real star in this company at this point, Roman Reigns, the one man who is bulletproof and doesn't have to worry about getting a phone call from John Laurinaitis, Roman Reigns. And boy, did SmackDown need this win. They needed this win in the worst way. I saw the WWE on Fox Twitter account was basically threatening suicide. They were about to delete their account if they didn't pick up a win here in this main event. Big E, early on, went for the splash that he sometimes does out on the ring apron. Roman moved out of the way and Big E bounced. And he bounced and fell to the floor and he started to sell a knee injury, like he hurt his knee on the landing. And then things got very slow and very boring for a very long time. And the crowd wasn't really making much noise, and I'm thinking, this is the main event. This is not going well. This is pretty boring. Finally, Big E, though, gained the advantage. Reigns caught Big E coming off the ropes with a Samoan drop. Reigns pummeled him in the corner with repeated clotheslines. Big E came back with a Uranage in the corner. Standing stretch muffler by Big E. Love that move. Standing stretch muffler. Reigns, though, counters out of it. Hits a one-arm sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. Big E went for a move. Roman Reigns, though, turned it into a rock bottom for a 2 count. Michael Cole referred to this as a rock bottom-like move. It is not a rock bottom-like move. It is a rock bottom. Somebody needs to alert Michael Cole. He has a history of doing this. Do you remember WrestleMania? Let's go back to WrestleMania. When The Fiend emerged from a box-like structure. It's not a box-like structure. It's a fucking box. He has to stop attaching like to everything. Michael Cole is like a good wrestling announcer. Hits a rock bottom. Only gets 2. Reigns hits the Superman punch, but it only takes Big E down to 1 knee. He gets back up. Roman hits a second Superman punch. Big E, though, fires back up to his feet. Now the people are starting to get into it. Third one connects, and down goes Big E. Roman goes to the corner, and he starts setting up for the spear. He does his whole thing, ooh-ah, in the corner like he's fucking Al Pacino. But Big E is up, and Big E confronts him, and Roman can't believe it. He can't believe this guy is back up on his feet. And he sends Reigns out to the floor, and Big E hits his suicide tackle through the ropes, and I gasp every time he hits that move. He is just tempting fate every time he does that move. But he hasn't killed himself or injured himself yet, so he puts Roman back inside. He climbs in. Reigns, though, as soon as Big E climbs back into the ring, he hits the spear. And he goes for the pin. They had a good near fall there because I thought that might have been the finish. But Big E kicked out. Roman tried for a guillotine. Big E, though, rammed him into the corner. And Reigns crawled out onto the apron. Big E went for another suicide tackle, but Reigns caught him and draped him across the middle rope. Gets back into the ring. And Roman locks on the guillotine. Big E, though, powers out of it. And he muscles Roman up onto his shoulder, and he hits the big ending. But Reigns is close enough to the ropes where he just reaches up, and he grabs a hold of the bottom rope. And he gets the rope break. So the match spills outside. Roman throws Big E into the ring steps. Roman builds up a head of steam. He comes flying off the ring steps, hits a Superman punch. He puts Big E back inside. And he attacks the injured knee, comes off the ropes, hits a spear, and he gets the pin. And so SmackDown finally got one. Outside of the disqualification win. Didn't look like much of a win for Nakamura on the kickoff, but they don't count the kickoff, neither will I. This was SmackDown's one big win, one big claim to fame for the blue brand here on this show, and it was probably designed this way just so Roman Reigns can come in and save the day and get the win for his brand. And maybe he'll come out on TV on Friday night and brag about that and say, what would SmackDown do without me? If it wasn't for me, this brand would have had no wins at Survivor Series. I could hear him and Paul Heyman now on the microphone this Friday night. This turned into a good match. I thought that the beginning of this match, the first half of this match, frankly, was fucking boring. I didn't like the first half of this match, but it built nicely, and by the end, it turned into a good one. A good match, not a great match. Roman gets the win, as he should have. As he should have. Would it have been big for Big E to get a win, a pinfall win over Roman Reigns? Yeah, of course, it would have been big for him. You can't beat Roman Reigns at this point. And in a meaningless non-title match at Survivor Series that had almost no build, up until the final angle they did on Friday night, it was fucking ice cold coming into this week. You're going to have, as protected as he's been, you're not going to have Roman Reigns go in there and be pinned by anybody. If Roman Reigns at this point is going to be pinned, we're so close now to WrestleMania. If Roman Reigns is going to be pinned on pay-per-view by somebody, it's going to be for the championship, and it's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Whoever it's going to be. So the right person won this match. It would have been foolish for Roman to be pinned by anybody. But then they just went off the air. So there was no big angle at the end. There was no big surprise. There was no Rock appearance. You know, one of the predictions that I threw out there, and I knew it was kind of out there, but I thought if they want Survivor Series to go off the air in a big way, I mean, you might piss off a lot of people, but Seth Rollins has that championship contract. I was expecting Rollins to come out. Biggie is down, right? He was selling a knee injury. I was thinking maybe Rollins is about to come out and cash in and win the WWE title. They didn't do that, which is for the better. But that was it. There was no big angle. There was no big surprise. There was no big appearance, no Rock. Nothing. Nothing at the end of this show. Hey, Bash, they sell Q-tips at the store and cotton balls, too. You can stick them in your ears if this is too sensitive for your ears. But anyway, that's Survivor Series. A very lackluster show outside of the opening match and what turned into a good main event. Even the men's elimination match, it had entertaining parts to it. You know, overall, I enjoyed it. It was okay. But there, you know, when this was over, I looked at it and said, this is not a Survivor Series that's going to go down in the history books as one that has any replay value. It's not a Survivor Series that anybody is going to look back on and talk about, outside of maybe Vince McMahon, you know, fondling an egg on the show. That's probably what most people are going to take away from this show, is Vince McMahon and his fucking egg. Well, Vince McMahon laid an egg tonight. And that's what happens when you do a piss-poor job of promoting one of your big pay-per-views. That's Survivor Series. That's what Survivor Series has become. It ain't what it used to be. There is a poll right now on Twitter, by the way. You can vote. I know I didn't put one up in the live chat, but you can certainly go on Twitter at Solomonster and check. We've got 1,600 votes in so far, and 56% say this was a thumbs down show. 30% say thumbs in the middle, and about 13% say thumbs up. So not a very well-received show. Forgot how much bigger Asuka is here on this slide. Hey, Christopher Perez just subscribed. Thank you, Christopher. Look how excited she is. Look at how excited she is. So anyway, at Solomonster is the place to go. We always have the poll up there, and you guys can tweet me and let me know what you thought of the show tonight. This show pretty much went the way I expected it to. You know, the wrestlers go out there and they wrestle. So when you have a pay-per-view and you generally have the longer matches, you can have a show that, you know, going into it, maybe they did a poor job, or maybe the card didn't really look all that exciting, but they have a lot of talented people on that roster. If you let wrestlers wrestle, you can end up with a very good show. And there was some good wrestling on this show, but I've seen much better from them this year. And obviously last weekend was a pay-per-view that blew this one out of the water. But just judging it on its own, this overall was just not a very good show. Overall. Just objectively wasn't. So I want to hear what you guys think. Let's head on over to your super chats here. If you have questions, if you have comments about the show tonight, Vince McMahon's egg, or anything else, now is the time to chime in. You certainly are welcome, not required, but welcome to drop a super chat. And I will read each and every single thing you guys send me here. So let's scroll back here, see what you guys thought of Survivor Series here. This was the 35th annual, by the way, Survivor Series. 35 years of Survivor Series. Seen a lot of great Survivor Series, and this wasn't one of them. Joshua Carlos Ocean Man wants to know if I am interested in a Roman Reigns Sheamus program. I would be. Not heel versus heel. I mean, Sheamus would have to turn, and I don't think he should turn. So I'm not interested in it right now, but at some point, yeah, I think Sheamus is great. Dada and Boy Podcast Says, we're in a different universe, and Survivor Series means AEW against WWE. Solomonster, create your 5-on-5 teams for each company. Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously, in WWE, you would have to have Roman Reigns. You would probably have McIntyre on there. I'd probably have like Reigns, McIntyre, Lashley, Styles maybe. Put them in the ring against Omega, MJF, Punk, Danielson. I think that'd make for a good match. Hey, Kid Cash just became a sound-off legend. Beavis approves. Welcome, Kid Cash. Not the Kid Cash, right? Sean Waters with the $10 super chat. 20 years ago, Test won the Immunity Battle Royal. Oh, yes, the Immunity Battle Royal in Survivor Series 2001. I had forgotten about that. I think that was the Immunity Battle Royal, and wasn't Test fired a number of months later? But he says, Battle Royal where he would keep his job despite whoever wins Team WWF against the Alliance. Omos won the Immunity Battle Royal of budget cuts. Buzzsaw75 with the $20 super chat. Kevin Owens did the best move of the night. He left the match. Well, it fit his character to a T. I thought it was great. You know what? He gets paid all the same. He doesn't get paid per move. He gets paid per appearance. So, he gets paid the same no matter what. Rizzo didn't watch a second of this pay-per-view, just here for the chat and to support you. Probably won't watch any WWE things until the Royal Rumble. It is just sad how beaten down they have made us fans. I'm just waiting for them to give me something to get really excited about. Give me something to really look forward to. Amiibo Guru, expected more in the main event. I did too. I was expecting the main event. It ended up being good. I was expecting it to be better than good, though. And I know those two, I think, are capable of a lot better than that. Bobby's World 2110 missed the show due to work. Not that I was too heartbroken about it. Gotta miss the stream. Have to be up early, but stop by to show some love. Happy late 14th from the Lake George Lunatic. Bobby, good to hear from you. Joseph Brooks, buy or sell on which faction was the most over, even though they always lost a lot more than they won. Raven's Flock or the Wyatt family? The Wyatt family was over more than their push would indicate, because they did lose a lot. They did lose a lot. In fact, they lost to Undertaker and Kane at Survivor Series, didn't they? One year when I don't think they really should have. I'd say the Wyatt family. Dr. NXT Scorpio, the women's match was hard to sit through and watch. Yeah, it just wasn't very good. Ryan Spies, today I learned there was a WWE show today. Yeah. How about that, huh? Joshua Carlos, sad to see Survivor Series being utilized like this. It's like this every year now. Jacob Donnelly with the 10. What's going on, Jacob? It's pay-per-views like this that show how WWE has no momentum going whatsoever. A decent match here and there, but overall, nothing to get invested in, no reason to care. You mean you weren't excited by the egg? Don't you want to know what happened to the egg? Maybe it's like one of those Russian tea things, and there's an egg in the egg. Maybe. Colonel Panic. Your recaps are a better product than the WWE. Well, thank you. I mean, that's a low bar that you've set, but... Uffman Entertainment, breaking news. The egg got released due to budget. Shit. I guess we're not going to fight. You know what? I knew that would happen. As soon as the egg was missing from the case, I should have known that Johnny Ace got to it. And gave it the bad news. Well, the good news is that the egg only has to wait 90 days and then it can pop up on Dynamite. It just has to pop. It needs a different name, though. Can't be the egg. We gotta come up with a different name for when the egg makes its AEW debut. Boots. McMahon should have asked Johnny Ace for the list of fired talent to see which one is likely to steal the egg. There's the creepy Jeff Hardy. That's the $20 creepy Jeff Hardy super chat. Still creeps me out. Look at that. Professor John Gotti. Oh, did not see that. Professor John Gotti dropped a $100 super chat bomb here on the Survivor Series stream. Golden egg stolen. Vince thought it was safe, but it was me. Yes, this is a JoJo reference. This event was an advertisement for a movie and was bad. Opener was the best match of the night. This was a Big Four pay-per-view. Well, I think we just have to accept the fact that Survivor Series isn't, and for a while has not been, a Big Four pay-per-view. They don't look at it anymore as a Big Four pay-per-view. Money in the Bank has replaced Survivor Series as the so-called Big Four. Hey, Evie Stuff, thanks for the sub. If you are not subscribed to the channel, by the way, you should hit that sub button right now. That way, you can make sure the bell is on and you get all the alerts whenever I go live in the future. And I just got a video almost 40 minutes from today's podcast. I already clipped it and put it up talking about Hit Row. Got a lot more details on Hit Row and John Morrison and all the other WWE releases. So you've got that up for you as well when we're done here. But Professor, thank you, sir. I've seen a lot of the Professor this week. I love it. Thomas, what is the intro song? I don't have the name in front of me, but I can get you the name. I can get you the... give me a second here. I will tell you the name right now. He's referring to the music. I assume he's talking about the music I use at the beginning of the review here tonight. Very talented artist, Mr. Carl Casey. Trying to think, which one did I use tonight? It might have been Fantasy. It might be Fantasy by Carl Casey, but you look up White Bat Audio. It should be one of the newest songs he posted there. He's fantastic, by the way. I discovered him probably a year and a half ago. Michael Cuomo. Egg at the Survivor Series is never a good thing. I'm sure Undertaker got flashbacks. If he was watching tonight, which he probably wasn't, he probably was having flashbacks to when he thought that Vince was going to make him the Eggman. Naif Al-Safar, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Austin Runge with the $10. This show certainly was not egg-citing, but I didn't really expect much from this show. Don't know why most of these matches existed. Keep up the excellent work, Solomonster. That's pretty good. That was pretty good. Austin, I applaud you for that. That was very clever. That's usually a Paul Heyman super chat. Paul Heyman would be proud of you for that one. I certainly was not expecting that as a super chat, but it's going to be hard to beat that. Anderson Blitz. Me and my brother still have fun live at the show. It's always more fun to be there live. No matter what show you go, unless you go to Raw, which just never fucking ends. So I'm glad you had fun. I would hate that you spend money on your ticket and you sit on your hands and you're bored the whole time. But watching from home, it was not nearly as fun. Hey, Drew Johnson just dropped a $50 super chat. Drew says, Solomonster, you're the man. Drew, you are the man. Thank you, sir. There's Vince. He's looking for his... Look at the look on his face. Taking that deep breath. You know why? Because he lost his egg. He lost his fucking mind, too. I don't know when exactly it happened, but it happened a long time ago. He should look for that before he looks for the egg. Maybe his mind is in the egg. Maybe it's in there somewhere. We got to try to figure out what's in the egg, just like we were trying to figure out what's in the lockbox. Remember the lockbox? Remember what happened with that storyline? I guess he got the lockbox back. We never found out what was in the lockbox with Shane. All right, that was WrestleMania 32. Kid Hunger. This show was Battleground 2017 bad. That's pretty bad. JR Vishar with the $11. November 22nd, the best day ever. Keep up the great work. Felt like the great Muppet caper and the baseball diamond. Dr. NXT Scorpio, this pay-per-view was rotten. I'll show myself out now. Another egg joke. Captain String Cheese, getting called out for being a Mets fan stung. It did, but you know what? We should be used to it by now. I'm kind of immune and numb to the criticism at this point. It is well earned. Rizzo, us Lions fans say hold our beer. Naif, thank you again for the $4.99. Simi Valley, Solomonster, have you watched episode 1 of season 2 of Ruthless Aggression yet? No, I have not. I know the new season just dropped, or at least the first episode. I've not watched it yet. Joshua, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted, Impact Wrestling got The Rock to do more Bound for Glory 2020 than WWE did for his 25th anniversary. How sad is that? I said it before. I mean, Rock, why would Rock even want to be part of this just complete bullshit? You know, I mean, these shows, he has no reason to be part of this. Rock is a huge wrestling fan. He loves Vince McMahon. You know, he probably looks at Vince like a father. So, you know, he doesn't hate Vince or anything like that, but how could he possibly look at these shows and feel like he wants to have anything to do with it? I'm going to drop everything I'm doing, all this movie stuff, all my commitments, so that I can be there. He couldn't be bothered. I can't say that I blame him. It's more sad that WWE, it's like they wrote this love letter to The Rock and they still couldn't convince him to even send a video in, let alone make a live appearance in Brooklyn. Terrence Toussaint. It's crazy how a show with no real build each year is one of their better shows year after year. Obviously, not a high bar to beat, but hey. All right, so Terrence enjoyed the show more than I did. And he said, disregard my previous comment. I forgot the egg segments was a thing, and we got no real conclusion to that. So finally, Terrence comes around. Before I could even make my next comment, Terrence finally came to his senses. That didn't take very long. EJ Slamp, what percentage of WWE's weekly audience do you think are crazy diehards? And what percentage are people like you who watch to cover it for a show? Oh, I mean, the people who cover it for a show are minuscule. I mean, I'm probably part of like 2% of the audience. The diehards probably make up I would say the diehards at this point have to make up a good 30 to 40% of their audience. I just find it impossible to believe that it would be, you know, a 70. I mean, maybe even more, frankly, but it's at least 30, maybe 40. I just can't imagine that there are that many people that are tuned into this every single week that actually think that this is a consistently good product. I can't believe that that's the case. I think a lot of it are diehards who are just ride or die. You know, they've been watching it forever, and maybe they don't like it. Maybe they hope it's going to get better. Maybe they do like it. Maybe they just, you know, they have been conditioned to like the WWE sports entertainment that gets fed to them no matter what it is. And I don't know, but it's at least 30 to 40%, I think. The Sky Genie. What's going on, Sky Genie channel? You can try WWE style pizza. It's full of bad creative and budget cuts, perfect for WWE diehard fans who have no soul to begin with. Wow. So he says the WWE, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say WWE fans have no soul. A lot of them have no sense. And so do the AEW diehards, by the way. If you missed the show I did today, episode 731, you will enjoy my rant, as I went off on the AEW diehards as well, including this one dipshit tweet that I got the other day that I just couldn't believe. I'll get that clip up on the YouTube channel tomorrow. Matt Oman, Vince and His Egg is the 2021 version of Herb Abrams and his yellow cowboy boots. Terrible pay-per-view with an owner and item that makes absolutely no sense. Joseph Brooks, I'm really hating this Naomi and Sonya Deville storyline. Naomi looks so bad at every segment, just like Mick Foley and Stephanie back in 2016 and 2017. Yeah, somebody pointed out to me something very interesting. It's very easy to look at the storyline and wonder if in storyline there's like a racial component to it. But, in a vacuum, it's just one person on the roster and Sonya is being a bitch because she's a heel. But then on SmackDown Friday night, they had that referee, the crooked referee, who happens to be African American, and she went to the back and she went over to Sonya and was like, "Oh, did I do a good job? Are you happy with what I did?" And Sonya just completely browbeat her and basically kicked her away too. And it's like, all right, now this is starting to get a little weird. I don't know where this storyline is going now. Now I'm not so sure that there isn't some other component to this. Plus Ultra Adrian missed Survivor Series tonight, but I still want to show love to the channel. I hope Survivor Series was better than the lead up to it. Oh, it was better than the lead up to it because there was no lead up to it, so it would be hard for the pay-per-view not to be better. T-Mac 034, the egg will get released in the morning before Raw. I think the egg has already been released. That's why it disappeared. Groovy Goose, Vince stole my egg. I got it back, though. Baba Booey, what even was this show? I don't know. Vitamin Vision TV, the fact that there's a golden egg storyline in 2021. This is exactly why I quit watching. What the fuck? Shout out to you, Solomonster, for your hard work. Johnny Friend Chesky, I said Chesky. We'll say Chesky. I don't know if I've ever watched a WWE pay-per-view that felt this low stakes. Beyond that, the product placement was as shameless as I can remember. Awful. Well, maybe they'll get Eggland's Best or something to be their newest sponsor. Kid Cash dropping 20. Not the Kid Cash. It's the farting phone guy from Florida. It's the farting phone guy from Florida. I was wondering whatever happened to that guy. Vitamin Vision. I survived watching Survivor Series. Paul Heyman, I miss your old rants from 2011 on John Morrison promos. Do you still feel the same way? His promos have not really improved all that much, although I don't think it's as bad as it was back in 2011. He's gotten better, but he's still not what I would call a great promo. Better than he was back then, though. Plus Ultra Adrian, never mind, sounded like Survivor Series was trash. Drew Johnson, Solomonster, you're the man. That's that 50 spot from before. Drew, thank you again. Brian Blair, last Survivor Series match I remember worth watching was the 2003 match with Team Austin against Team Bischoff. Taker beating the crap out of McMahon later on in the show was worth it as well. Yeah, he must have hit an artery in that match because 90 seconds in, Vince was just bleeding a gusher. It looked like he was about to pass out. Kid Cash, just wanted to say thanks for the impact that you've had on my life in just over a year. Watching your streams and binge watching your old videos kept me going during homelessness due to COVID. Thank you, Solo. Well, I'm glad you seem to be doing better. I'm sorry that happened to you. That sucks. A lot of people went through a lot of bad shit during COVID. I've gotten messages similar to that. Not necessarily that they were homeless, but just people who were going through a lot of bad things. And yeah, I'm glad that I still had stuff to talk about and that there was still wrestling to talk about when it would have been very easy for everything to just shut down. And thankfully there was stuff to talk about, and we were able to keep the show going. And a lot of people were stuck indoors and weren't going out or whatever the case may be. And it's cool. It's cool to know that the show, even in a small way, was helpful to you and other people. Thomas, thanks for the info, and yes, I meant the song we heard while we waited for you to begin. The show was bland and wasted 3.5 hours. Love the show. HBKC83, sorry you had to sit through that. How was your day today? Do anything special? I did a 2-hour plus podcast earlier, and then edited and got it up and got ready for the stream tonight. So the only other thing I did today was I had breakfast, I had lunch, and I had dinner. That's about all I had time for. Johnny, this show was hard to watch. My anger almost boiled over. It truly scrambled my brain. I prayed for it to be over, but it wasn't that easy. It's a good effort. Not as good as the other one from our other friend, but that one was pretty good. Ben Burnside, as a fan of the Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals, I love the World War III concept. What do you think of WCW World War III? I feel that it's a good fit for Survivor Series as a new concept occasionally. I never liked World War III. I just thought 60 guys, 3 rings. It was too much to follow. You know, they'd have to put some of the rings in little boxes, and it's just too much going on at once. Too many people, too much going on. You can't follow everything. So I'm not a fan of it. You don't need World War III at Survivor Series. All you need is War Games. And now NXT has it, but for years, all they had to do was put War Games in Survivor Series. Raw versus SmackDown 5-on-5 with something at stake in a War Games match. There you go. Now you have your new annual Survivor Series tradition. Apparently, though, that was too complicated for our wonderful Mr. McMahon. The genius that is Vince McMahon. Biblical Adrian, what's going on? He says, what was the result of Shane McMahon's lockbox? The result was that he, I think, gave the lockbox back to Vince, and that was it. We never found out what was in it. That was the big payoff. Drew Johnson, Solomonster, I love the shows, but I do miss the phone calls. Calling in and talking to you is pretty awesome. Did it multiple times. Yeah, now it's every now and then now. Most people didn't really seem to like it, so you got to go with what the overall opinion is. We'll do more phone calls, but not as much. People didn't seem to take very kindly to it. So we do less of that now. Sirloin, just combine and put them both out of their misery. Easter-colored eggs. Easter-colored eggs? Wano Campo, you son of a bitch, Pat McAfee with his inner JR. Well, Pat McAfee is no JR, but he tried. Ben Burnside, better Vader theme music. WWE's It's Vader Time or his WCW theme? I'm listening to his WCW theme with 2K19 and it's stuck in my head and badass. You know, I haven't heard his WCW theme in a long time. I like his WWF theme, though. Very catchy. I might go with that one. Tom Phelan, thank you for the $1.99. Frost757, next month will be the first time since 1994 that there will be no WWE pay-per-view in December. Yeah, tonight was the final pay-per-view of the year. There's no AEW pay-per-view in December. There is no WWE... Well, actually, that's not true. WWE is having the War Games show, and it was actually listed in the advertisement tonight for pay-per-view. So technically, the War Games show next month, I guess, would be considered a pay-per-view, but the WWE main roster will not have a pay-per-view next month. But then we get 2 of them in January. Dr. NXT Scorpio, tempting to watch Raw just to see how illogical and silly this egg plays out. God help us all tomorrow night. EJ Slamp, did you like WCW's Battle Bowl, or was it stupid? I watched Battle Bowl 91 on the Starrcade DVD, and it wasn't bad. But Battle Bowl 92 sucked. Battle Bowl's okay. I was not a big fan of it. I mean, I like that more than World War III. But even that, I wasn't really a big fan of the whole Battle Bowl thing. I like the whole Halloween Havoc, though, spin the wheel, make the deal, which they do now in NXT. That I liked. So I think we are caught up now on your Super Chats. Yes, we are. As I said, I would read every message that you guys sent to me. This poll is going to be interesting to follow because I don't remember the... Oh, there she is again. Look, there's Asuka. Hey, Spaz Out just subscribed to the channel. What's up, Spaz? I don't remember the last time a WWE pay-per-view had The majority thumbs down. Was it SummerSlam? I don't think it was SummerSlam. But I feel like it's been a while since we've had, look at that, 56% of you have voted thumbs down on the show tonight. Bread Hart just sent a super chat in. What is your favorite type of bread? I like flatbread. I'm a fan of flatbread. Ciabatta bread. I like ciabatta bread. Drew Johnson, look at this. Just dropped $50. Bring back the phone calls for once a month for members only. Something cool you could do for members. Definitely open to that. We could do some kind of a call-in thing, even if it was brief. And they could be like pop-up shows every now and then. I could go on Twitter and be like, hey guys, we're going to go, live tonight at this time or whatever, and I'll open the phone lines. Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. I'm always down for adding more perks for channel members. And if you're not a channel member, by the way, there's 2 tiers. The Superstars tier and the Higher Legends tier. And a lot of the perks are similar. The Legends tier, you get access to a lot of the classic audio, the lost episodes of the Sound Off that you can't find anywhere else. Those are slowly being added to the archives there. But everybody has access to the video Q&As that I do. You get early access to some content before everybody else gets it. So yeah, I'm always looking for new ideas. So if you got suggestions, I'm always open to stuff. But yeah, the phone calls, again, they were very hit or miss. And so we dialed them back a little bit. But we have the line. Anytime we want to go back and take some calls, we could certainly do that. Nice to see a lot of the Asuka love here in the live chat. Now that I'm giving Asuka more screen time than WWE has in the last 8 or 9 months. And Asuka's getting a lot of love in the chat. She is missed. I keep worrying every time we hear about this new wave of releases that her name is going to be on the list because she doesn't fit into the age bracket that they're looking for. My 80s one-hit wonder song for tonight, One Night in Bangkok by Murray Head. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love that. I love One Night in Bangkok. Bangkok is one place I have not been to. So maybe we'll hit Thailand one day. Steve Heredia just dropped a $10 super chat. Survivor Series was awful tonight, and I started watching at the Battle Royal. Makes me appreciate the classic Survivor Series pay-per-views. Which of the classic ones is your favorite? Ooh, I like 1990. That's the one where Undertaker debuted. The Egg. We had the Egg on that show too. I like 90. I actually like 92, which is where they started to get away from the elimination format. I would say if I had a favorite overall Survivor Series pay-per-view, 2002 is actually very good. 2002 had the first Elimination Chamber match, which was excellent. That was in Madison Square Garden. So I would consider that one pretty high up on the list. I'm just more generally a big fan of the earlier Survivor Series, the classic ones. 89, 90. But a lot of those, I don't know if there's one of those that stands out. But from the later era, 2002 Survivor Series was very good. I like what they did in 1990, which they never did again, the Ultimate Match of Survival, where all the babyfaces who survived, which was Hogan, Warrior, and Tito Santana, which one of these doesn't fit, they went to this final, grand finale match of Survival. And they were outmatched against the heels. Of course, the babyfaces won. I thought that was an interesting concept, and they never revisited that. They never did that again. Joseph, favorite Survivor Series in the past 15 years was 2014. What was yours? I don't have a favorite Survivor Series in the last 15 years. I don't think there's been a truly great Survivor Series in the last 15 years. There's not a single one that stands out to me for being great. There's a few that stand out for being bad, but I don't know. I mean, Brock Lesnar has had some really great matches against AJ, against Danielson, against Rey Mysterio. Like, we can isolate matches that have been good. Charlotte and Ronda Rousey had an excellent match at Survivor Series a few years ago. Trying to think, the one from a few years ago where NXT beat Raw and SmackDown. I remember that being a good show. So maybe that one. But Survivor Series has not had a good run over the last 15 years, sadly. Drew Johnson with the $5. The Ultimate Survivor Series is 97. HBK against Bret Hart. Screwjob will never be forgotten. Simi Valley. Do you see Big E making it to WrestleMania as the champion? And who do you see him facing? If Seth beats him instead, who could you see him facing at WrestleMania? I think Seth Rollins is going to take the WWE Championship. Maybe they end up doing a rematch with Rollins and Big E. The problem is, I look at that Monday Night Raw roster. I don't really see a WrestleMania main event that makes me excited. They've done a very poor job of building people up. I wouldn't mind Bobby Lashley getting another run with the belt, but I don't know that that's in the cards for him. And even if he gets the belt back, do you do Lashley and Big E at WrestleMania? Where does Rollins fit into the equation there? Boots, your thoughts on Chuck Norris at Survivor Series? Well, I mean, he showed up. He did one move, right? He gave one kick to Jeff Jarrett. Anybody who kicks Jeff Jarrett in the face is okay with me. So I thought his appearance was fine. It was very inoffensive. Steve Heredia, 89 and 90 were my favorite classics. What about everybody in the chat? Also, have you seen the new Ghostbusters movie yet? I have not. Rizzo, I see a lot of Oscar love here, and I have to admit, I have a crush on Shotzi. Don't know why I made this public. I don't know why you did either. But now, if you did, as Hit Row would say, in tribute to them, if you didn't know, now you know. And by the way, if you want to hear me rap, not really, but read the lyrics to the Top Dollar diss track that he had dropped and then deleted on Jinder Mahal before he got fired, I read that entire diss track on the podcast today. The lyrics, that was something else. So if you're interested in that, it's also it's in the clip on the channel right now, actually. The clip I just put up on YouTube earlier tonight. That's right. Boucher or Boucher. Boucher in the chat says, hit that like button. That's right. Make sure before you get on out of here tonight, let's try to at least get that up to 500 likes if we can. 500's got to be the minimum here. I ain't going nowhere until we hit 500, so at least 500 likes. The diss track, yeah. If you didn't know, there was a diss track that apparently ruffled some feathers. People thought it was insensitive. I don't know what was so insensitive about it. I mean, you could say the lyrics were insensitive as far as to my ears, but other than that, I don't know what was so insensitive about it. What's a good VPN for international WWE network? I don't know if that works on only specific VPNs, but we have a VPN offer check the description down below. You can give it a shot. I can't tell you whether it'll work for sure, because I don't know how the international WWE network is working these days, but we have an offer going with ExpressVPN, so you can get 3 extra months for free when you use our link. Just check the description down below. That's right. Steve says, acknowledge that like button. Acknowledge me. And hit that thumbs up. Tommy Perez. I'm late on this topic, but here's suggestions for next season of Dark Side of the Ring. Scott Hall, or I'm reaching out, or I'm reaching, he says, but Victory Road with Jeff Hardy. You're not going to get a Dark Side episode on Victory Road. You could get a Dark Side episode on... you could probably get a Dark Side episode on Jeff Hardy. You're not going to get Jeff Hardy to cooperate. But Jeff's story has a happy ending right now. And I don't know if Dark Side of the Ring wants a happy ending. They might want just, a dark episode that ends in a dark way. Jeff's story, at least, is... right now, anyway, it's a nice story, and that he seems to be in a really good place in his life. He seems to be doing a lot better, and I just hope for his sake that it stays that way. KC DeMose, did you see Matanza, Solomonster? I saw a screenshot. I did not see the show, MLW. I saw that Dario Cueto, or Cesar Duran, I guess is his name, brought back the Matanza character from Lucha Underground that Jeff Cobb played. I just haven't seen the show, but I heard about it. Drew Johnson, Seth Rollins is a joke. He can't even beat Edge. How can he win the title? WWE sucks. Watch AEW. Let's see. What do we got here? All this activity in the chat, my goodness. Bottom Dollar was the least interesting member of Hit Row, and that's who they wanted to push. Because he was big, Beowulf. Don't you know? He was big. And that's what matters, right? That's what matters. Jay, that is the evil orb behind me. Actually, I will confess, I have Vince McMahon's golden egg. It is glowing behind me. That's what you see behind me. I have the egg. If he wants the egg back, he needs to surrender control of WWE by noon tomorrow. Then he gets his fucking egg back. Juan, send me an email. And I'll try to look up the exact name and I'll drop you an email. Chris says, I can't sleep. Solomonster and the interesting chat are keeping me awake. Yeah, Jonah, I talked about Jonah on the podcast today as well. Bronson Reed is not only in New Japan now, he is in Impact. He killed Josh Alexander on their show the other night. He left him laying in a puddle of blood. How is it that Impact on day one in his debut is using him better than WWE ever did? It's amazing. T-Mac, you can find a whole bunch of them on Amazon. If you're really interested, you can find, there's a whole bunch of different brands. You can find them on Amazon. EJ Slimp. Marvel has the animated series. What if someone made a what if series based on all of the what if scenarios in wrestling history? Would it be popular? I think it could be, yeah. I think that would be an interesting concept, actually. And if Marvel got behind it, then it probably would be a huge success because Marvel has made a lot of money on their properties over the years. Drew Johnson, in the spirit of Bulu, keep or delete Sunny 97 or Stephanie McMahon 03. Well, a young Solomonster would have told you Sunny. I had a big crush on Sunny, so we'll go with Sunny. Although SmackDown GM era Stephanie McMahon was Stephanie at her best. Steve says, I watched Turning Point earlier today. Did anyone watch it? And the chat goes mild. Such is the state of Impact these days. Simi, that's awesome. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It was the final scene of the pilot episode that got me hooked. So you're gonna enjoy these next 7 seasons, believe me, of The Shield. Would I say the 05 Survivor Series was any good? I still remember that pay-per-view being good and with Undertaker coming back. Yeah, '05, the only thing I remember is Undertaker coming back. I think it was when he was in the casket, right? And he kind of opened the door. And I remember them zooming in on Randy Orton's face. He had a big shocked expression on his face. If that happened at Survivor Series, unless maybe that was an earlier show. Maybe I'm thinking of an earlier pay-per-view, and then maybe they had a Hell in a Cell match at Survivor Series. I don't remember. I think that happened at Survivor Series. What if Vince never screwed Brett and Brett stayed in WWE? Well, Vince, he did screw Brett, but if he didn't, then Brett would have gone on to drop the WWF Championship to Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14. He would have finally put Austin over to complete the trilogy. And Shawn Michaels would have cried into his crying towel. Hey, Toby Flanagan just subscribed. What's going on, Toby? Solomonster, if you ever decide to play video games again, I think you would like Outlast. It is a horror game. Well, we'll see when I get my new machine here in the next couple of months, whenever it's ready to actually ship out to me. We'll see if we can get going on maybe some Sound Off Gamer again. I'm looking forward to getting back to that. So I don't know. Yeah, that probably is pretty intensive though, but I am definitely interested in trying to resuscitate Sound Off Gamer in the very near future. Ah, okay. So the Undertaker-Orton match, Hell in a Cell, happened at Armageddon. So the Survivor Series finish in '05 is what I described then, when Undertaker popped out of the casket. That was in '05. Hey, Maj Cannon just subscribed. Am I a fan of the Last of Us games? I have not played the Last of Us games. I don't own a console right now. Drew Johnson. Shawn Michaels is the GOAT, not Hart. Sorry, my friend. Well, Drew, you know, you've got some great super chats. That's not one of them, but you're certainly entitled to that opinion. Nobody is perfect. You know, some people are right more often than they're wrong, but nobody is right 100% of the time. So that's going to have to be one of your wrong opinions. Metroid Dread was great, says Bearwolf. And Frost says, don't play The Last of Us 2. That was a mistake. Drew is now banned. I would not ban Drew. I would not ban Drew. All right, so usually I would save this for the AEW streams, but since some people asked for it, we do a segment on the live stream sometimes called Be the Booker. Let's see if I could book a better match than we got at Survivor Series tonight. Shout out to Zinfamous HD for this fun little gif here. We're going to randomly book a match here before we get the hell out of here. How's that sound? And we've got X-Pac telling everybody in the chat to suck it. X-Pac never did get himself a WrestleMania main event. Sean Waltman never had a WrestleMania main event. But he's about to. And Sean Waltman is going to be stepping into the ring with Mustafa Ali in the WrestleMania main event. And while I believe that would have been an awesome match, as far as being a WrestleMania main event, that don't work for me, brother. Sorry. Hey, Tuxedo T Servo, dropping $5. Can't make the stream Wednesday, so happy Thanksgiving and catch you on Friday. Well, Tuxedo, you have yourself a great holiday, and I will be here on Friday night. And Drew Johnson says, Solomonster, you're the man. Keep up the good work. Everybody knows HBK is the GOAT. Well, he's really sticking to that, isn't he? He's sticking to his guns there. Let's try the ladies now. It's ladies' time with Be the Booker. Let's get ourselves a women's match here. See what we come up with. See a lot of interesting faces in here. The first face is Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades. Let's see who she matches up with. Shayna Baszler going to be matched up with Ember Moon. I'm almost positive that was a match at an NXT TakeOver at least once. Shayna Baszler and Ember Moon. I'm going to call that a winner right there. That could have been a WrestleMania main event, but WWE decided we don't have any use for Ember Moon, so we're just going to fire her because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. As if Ember Moon wouldn't have been someone who could have helped in that women's division on Raw or SmackDown. Apparently they didn't think so. Yeah, not a bad main event for the women. I think that could have been a pretty good match. They had two matches. Okay, I knew they had at least one. I didn't remember if they had two or not. Yeah, you know, with Ember, I feel bad because Ember was on the main roster. Ember suffered a devastating injury. She wasn't sure if she was going to be able to make it back. It was an Achilles injury. She blew out her Achilles. That's a pretty serious injury. And it's very painful, and it's a very long layoff. But the way that she injured herself always rubbed me the wrong way. Because they had her chasing after the 24/7 title. Like just a nobody. The champion would run out. She would chase after them. I think R-Truth had the belt at the time. And she came back through the curtain, not realizing she was running so fast. And I guess there was somebody standing there on the other side. And it was her trying to stop herself. And that's how she blew out her Achilles. At least if you're in the middle of a match and you blow it out, it's like, well, you know, I was in the middle of this hard-fought match. You know, this great athletic competition in the ring. And when the doctor says, well, how'd you do that? Like, what happened? I would be fucking embarrassed to tell him. I'd have to make up some kind of story, like I was chasing a guy who was mugging a little old lady on the street, trying to take her purse away from her or something. And then I heard a pop. You know, I was trying to be a good Samaritan. No, well, doctor, you know, I was chasing after a fucking piece of shit title belt. I was running through the arena like a moron. And didn't know I was, you know, my own speed, I guess. And I stopped short and I blew out my friggin' Achilles. Like, it's just embarrassing to even... And this woman thought her career might be over. She missed so much time. And that ultimately is really what did her in. And she lost her opportunity. I mean, she went back to NXT. She had some success there. But another one bites the dust, who never realized what could have been her full potential in that company. And the way they used her is... on the main roster, the way they used her is pathetic. But she, like a lot of those other people, are going to be better off, you know, being outside of WWE. You get treated that way, you get treated like a piece of garbage, you know what? You're better off going somewhere else anyway. Zombified guitarist. Good night and happy turkey times, Solomonster. Happy turkey times to you too. Drew Johnson, HBK made heart. He went to WCW and he was lost. HBK went on to have an amazing second half of his career. HBK made heart? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. I don't even know what you mean by that. How did he make heart? That makes no sense. Brett was already on the ascent as a singles star before he and Shawn ever had any kind of singles feud. So I'm not sure what the hell you're talking about. It just doesn't make any sense. And Brett would have gone on to have a lot of great matches against a lot of people on that WWE roster. Had the screw job not happened, had he not, gotten hurt, had the stroke. I mean, it was one bad thing after another that happened to that poor guy. So the idea that, well, Shawn went on to have a great second half of his career. He did. He had a tremendous second half of his career. I don't know what that has to do with Brett. The only reason Brett didn't have a second half of his career is because he got injured. And he was disabled. And he was unable to get medically cleared. So, again, I'm not sure what exactly you mean by that. Kane, the bad guy. I'm a huge HBK fan, but he didn't make Brett. Of course he didn't make Brett. I don't know. Drew's been drinking tonight. Which I don't blame Drew, because I should have been drinking during Survivor Series too. And I kind of wish I did. So Drew was on the good stuff tonight. Drew had himself a margarita. And he had some lime, and he had some coconut, and he had some peach rum, and he put a little bit of absinthe in there that he dropped in there, a little bit of whiskey. He just put it all together. He's just completely shit-faced right now. T-Mag, before you leave, pumpkin or sweet potato pie? Neither. Pecan pie. Pecan pie, apple pie, either of those, and I'm good. So listen, this has been fun. I want to thank everybody for joining me and choosing me for your Survivor Series coverage. I do not take that lightly. I appreciate all of your support. And do check out episode 731 of The Sound Off, which went up earlier today, over 2 hours, covering a whole multitude of different topics. From WWE, AEW, even some New Japan news. New Japan versus Pro Wrestling Noah coming up at Wrestle Kingdom. Took a bunch of email questions. So all the email questions that I meant to get to on the anniversary stream on Thursday, I did them on the podcast today. So definitely go back and check that out. And I am going to be live on Thanksgiving Eve. So this Wednesday, if you want to come hang out with me before the holiday, we'll be doing our live Dynamite stream as always. But if you're not going to be around, I just want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. For those who are celebrating, if you're here in this country, I know we have a lot of international listeners, but happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for all of you. And I hope you have a very good holiday. Eat a lot of food. Eat a lot of turkey. Have some pie. I'll be having some pie. I love me some pie. Solomonster loves his pie. I might have more than one. I might have different kinds of pie. You want to have some variety in your pie. Some pie is spicier than others. Some pie is drier than others. It's all good. The pie is delicious. Zombified guitarist Roman Reigns in the Red Hanes in the main event. I did not notice that. And Drew says, didn't realize you have to be a Brett fan. You can think HBK is the best. I just think it's a very stupid... I have no idea what you're talking about when you say that he made Brett. It's just a ridiculous comment. I have no idea what that even means. Neither does anybody in the chat, apparently. So, otherwise, you can think whatever you want. I just, have no idea what you are even talking about when you mention that. Not that kind of pie, Boomerang. We're keeping it classy here on the street. Not that kind of pie. But Drew, look, Shawn is one of the best of all time. There's no doubt. I have a lot of great Shawn Michaels matches that I go back and enjoy watching. I think a lot of his work has great replay value. And I've talked about how it really is incredible how he had that first half of his career. and think of all the great matches that he was part of in the 90s. And he got hurt and he went away and he was gone for over 4 years. Frankly, he should have been dead. The way that he, was all pilled up and everything, the showstopper, he was the pill popper. He was into a lot of bad shit. Triple H has talked about how he had to check on Shawn sometimes in the hotel room at night, make sure he was turned on his side so he didn't choke on his own vomit. He was basically his babysitter. So he had some dark times, and it was actually during those dark times that Shawn did some of his best work. Shawn Michaels in 1997, when he found his smile and he came back in like May, you go back and watch the matches that he was having that year, the tag match on Raw with Austin against Owen and Bulldog, the match with Austin at the King of the Ring, the matches with The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. The guy was as good as anybody in the world at that point. I mean, he was untouchable. And that was him in the state that he was in at that time. He goes away, he comes back in 2002, and from 2002 to 2010, another 8 years, the body of work that he put together was incredible. My favorite WrestleMania match of all time is Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker. So it's not like I'm not a fan of his work. I'm not trying to bash Shawn, but when I think of Bret, to me, that's what a wrestler should be. And the thing I loved about Bret the most, and why I think his matches get a lot of love these days from a lot of people, not just myself, but from a lot of people, is that you go and watch a Bret Hart match, and, there were some matches that he had that, you go back and watch, and depending on who he was in the ring with, maybe it wasn't overly exciting. But the majority of the matches that he was in, it wasn't just the moves, it was the way that he would sell, and the way that he would tell a story in the ring, just based on him getting his ass kicked, and the way he would sell certain moves, and the way he would, the expressions on his face when he was making his comeback or something. This guy looked like he was in the fight of his life every single night he went out there. And you really felt like this guy's getting his ass kicked. You felt like this is a real fight that this guy is in. And here he is now mounting the great babyface comeback. When he had the heel run in 97, and they did the whole US against Canada thing, I thought it was brilliant. He would go to Germany and be cheered like a hero, and he would come to the U.S. and talk about how we don't take care of our sick, which we don't, by the way. A lot of what he said in 97 is 100% true. But, he's healing on America and saying all these things, and he was a hero there and a villain here, and it was just, he was just the best at that time, and I don't know, I wish there were more people who were like that. I wish we had some more wrestlers who were like, Bret from that time period. In WCW, you're right. He didn't really do much. He had a few memorable matches against Benoit and against, what was the other match? I remember him having a really good match with Sting. He had a couple of classic matches with Benoit. But he worked with a lot of people, actually. He worked with, I could have sworn I remember him against Booker. Him and Booker T. But, beyond that, it's kind of like Bobby Heenan. I'm a huge Bobby Heenan fan. I was never really a fan of Bobby Heenan in WCW all that much. It just wasn't the same. When he left WWE, he wasn't and maybe part of it was not having him and Monsoon together, but it wasn't the same Bobby. So maybe it was just the change of scenery and the way WCW was at the time. I don't know. But when you put me on the spot and say, if I had to pick one guy who's my favorite all time, it's going to be Bret Hart. There's just no question about it. RDG124, favorite HBK was the DX attire he wore only once during that In Your House pay-per-view. That was DX in Your House, as a matter of fact. That was the night he wrestled Ken Shamrock. Mors Sanctorum. I was at Barclays tonight, section 214, row 11. Well, what did you think of the show? You didn't tell me what you thought of the show, though. Was it worth the money you paid for your ticket? Jesus Cashy with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Steve says, Kurt Angle is my all-time favorite. Kurt Angle is up there, man. Kurt, the only thing working against Kurt is the fact that his career wasn't that long. His run in WWE, specifically, at the top, wasn't as long as it was for some of the other, like, all-time greats. So I think that works against him a little bit, but no, absolutely. Kurt is one of the best, bar none. In fact, there are a lot of people who would say that his TNA career was better overall than his WWE career. That he had more great matches in TNA than he did in WWE. It's hard for me to believe that he spent more time in TNA than he did during his first run in WWE, but it's true. And you know what? It was the best thing for him. It probably saved his life. Although we did get that one period with Perk Angle. So you could just look at him in the face and know this guy's on something. I met Kurt. The first time I met Kurt was at the first TNA show they did here in New York City at Webster Hall. And he wrestled Christian Cage in the main event. When the match was over, they were doing this gimmick at the time where you can get in the ring and take a Polaroid photo with Kurt. And, you know, as part of the first few rows, which is what, you know, I was in, I could just get in the ring and get my picture taken with him. So I have a picture. I have a Polaroid photo of me. I was wearing like a dress shirt because I came right from work. In the ring with Kurt. He just wrestled this main event. I'm holding the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And Kurt has this glassy-eyed, like, expression. You could just look in his eyes, and it's like he's not all there. And he had that look on his face, I think, for years. And he's talked about how he had a bad addiction to painkillers and stuff. And I guarantee you he was on something during that period. So that's where the whole Perk Angle thing comes from. But let me tell you something. Perk Angle was a fucking machine. It's like what I said Shawn Michaels on whatever he was on in 97. You know, he may have been doing stuff that was detrimental to his health. But in the ring, I mean, he was unstoppable at that time. H-Dub, you would have thought that they would have learned last time to never use an egg in a Survivor Series pay-per-view show. You would think. Maybe it was so long ago and he's so old now that he just forgot. Kurt looked like Nick Gage in 2009. No, Kurt was awesome. Soma, there you go. Soma Sean. That's probably what he was on. Back then it was all the Soma pills. You'd be in a Soma coma. Soma Joe. No. You got to get it right. It's Smo Joe. That's what Scott Steiner called him. Smo Joe. Boomerang says, I always bust out laughing whenever I see that clip of Kurt doing a somersault off the stage onto Abyss. That does look very strange to see him doing a move like that. I cringe when I see Samoa Joe taking that horrendous bump in his TNA days. And I don't remember, it might have been the match against Sting, maybe. Was it a match against Sting? He was in the stands, and he dives, and he lands on the steps. I mean, I don't know what he was trying to do. That's the kind of injury that's going to stay with you for the rest of your career. So as physically beaten up now as Samoa Joe is, I guarantee you a lot of that has to do with that bump that he took. I'm trying to remember if it was against Sting or not, but that is one of the most horrendous bumps I've ever seen. And how he wasn't more seriously injured on that move, I'll never know. Was it Sting? Sting at Bound for Glory is what Beowulf says. That was just brutal. Drew, I'm a sexy Kurt. Hart wore a wire. He screwed himself. He thought he was bigger than the business. He found out quick in WCW that he was nothing. Well, he got to punch Vince McMahon in the face. How many people can say they got to punch Vince McMahon in his face? Not too many people. He's a hero for that alone. Shawn Michaels never punched Vince in the face. I'm sure Shawn Michaels and Vince did other shit together. He never punched Vince in the face. I'll tell you that. Jeremy Styron with the $5 super chat. Speaking of Kurt, remember last week you talked about how Stone Cold didn't really make anyone a star. I think the closest was Kurt. He was already a star, but I think Austin really helped him. He did, but like you said, the question was, did he make anyone? And I couldn't really think of anyone. After Austin had become big, did he make someone? Did he really cement them or take somebody who really wasn't a big deal and turn them into a big deal? And the answer is no, I couldn't think of anybody. But he definitely helped Kurt. That's right, Beowulf. I had forgotten about that. Shawn Michaels, that's right. When he got beaten up by that one Marine. I know they made it sound like he was beaten up by 9. I got news for you. He got beaten up by 1. And he had it coming because he was probably acting like a dick and coming on to the guy's girlfriend. But it was a nice story to tell on TV that he got beaten up by 9 Marines. And then he didn't want to, I don't think he pursued anything after that. Yeah, beaten up by 9 Marines, my ass. KC, who is your favorite women's wrestler, Solomonster? He says, mine is Manami Toyota. I'm a big Sasha Banks fan. I'm a Sasha Banks guy. I enjoy watching her work. Semper Fi, says Beowulf. Frost757 says Shawn Michaels can't fight. Well, we know that. But he can do he can do moonsaults though, so yeah, he's got that going for him. Drew says Iron Man match 96. Enough said. I got news for you. The Iron Man match in 96 is overrated. And Brett was in that match too, and I'm saying that. It's a good match, but it was overrated. I am a much bigger fan of the Triple H Rock Iron Man match from Judgment Day in 2000. You want to see a real fun Iron Man match? Watch that Judgment Day match. Right down to the finish with Undertaker coming out. That is sports entertainment at its finest right there. Moores says, I enjoyed booing the hell out of Becky Lynch in Brooklyn tonight. Well, you were drowned out by the cheers because Becky came across as one of the biggest baby faces on the entire show. How's that heel turn going for Becky Lynch? Not too well. It's not going too well. Jeremy, I think you are right. I think I read your name with the wrong super chat. So let's read your message here. Jeremy, what Jeremy actually said is, you may have already covered this, but WWE cannot even be bothered to give the rundown on which brand won tonight. None of this mattered. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's true. Well, but we knew that coming in. They don't give a shit. It's a date on a calendar. They get past it. It's in the past. They don't care. They don't care. Brock against Kurt Iron Man was great, says Kane. It was an excellent match, but it was hurt by the commercial breaks. I don't think doing an Iron Man match on TV is good. I think it's better to do it on a pay-per-view where it doesn't get interrupted. WrestleMania 10, Steve says, had the best opening match, Brett against Owen. I would agree. Although AEW had a hell of an opening match last weekend at Full Gear. Best match on the entire show. MJF against Darby Allin. Somebody asked me about Mr. Meltzer and his star ratings for Full Gear. I don't know. I don't know what he was watching there, but he gave the main event with Hangman and Omega 5.5 stars. I mean, I thought it was a great main event, but not 5.5 stars great. And then he gave the Young Bucks 6-man tag 5 stars. Which, again, I enjoyed the match, but how the fuck do you get 5 stars for that match and not give 5 stars to MJF and Darby? Now, it's one man's opinion. I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't even mention it on the show today. But I did read those ratings and think, okay, this guy's smoking the funny stuff here. I don't know what he watched, but these star ratings are getting ridiculous now. Drew says, obviously not a Hart fan, but that Iron Man match is historic. It is historic. It's just not as good as some people make it out to be. I was very bored by certain parts of it. So, and look, when you have an Iron Man match, you can't go balls to the wall for an hour. I get that. But I have seen other Iron Man matches that keep my interest better than they did in that match. So that's why I say it's a tad bit overrated. Yeah, EJ, he gave the Jurassic Express and Christian Cage against the Young Bucks and Adam Cole 5 stars. And I think MJF and Darby had 4.5 or 4 3/4 or something. Again, it's one guy's ratings, but when I saw that though, with the 6-man getting the 5 above that one, I said, that's just fucking ridiculous. Drew says, I'm a huge AEW fan, but Dave is a mark for Omega and the Bucks. With those star ratings, I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, it's just insane to me. 5.5 stars in that main event. Again, there are matches. I mean, think about this. I mentioned Shawn and Undertaker from WrestleMania 25. I guess that's before he broke his own star rating scale with Omega and Okada, but even that match I don't think got 5 stars. Like, there are some classic matches in history that, did not get the Meltzer 5, and now I see some of the matches that do. And I guess he just gave up, and now he just hands them out like candy, whereas before it would be rare for a WWE match to get 5 stars. So obviously something changed in his system, the way he works things there. And that's why I tell people, don't take that seriously. It's his star rating system. He can give it however many stars he wants. Doesn't make any sense to me. But those ratings last week were just ridiculous. Krogan, yes. I believe that's the name of it. But this is a liquid blue shirt. I like their shirts very much. Yep, Drew is here to support the stream. So everybody else in the chat, we enjoy the back and forth here. It's all good. We're having fun. We're having some fun. I like how you guys pulled one over on me. I was ending the stream like 20 minutes ago, and then I had an influx of questions. Hey, Casey is Raw. Thanks for the $2. He says, would you take a WWE commentating job if offered? I have no interest in working for WWE. Boogie Down. What's up, Solomonster? Just wanted to say hello and thank you for all that you do. You helped me through a lot throughout the years with this podcast. Thank you, Boogie. I love hearing that. I am happy to hear that. Thank you for the support. Fred Hart says Casey wants to drive me insane. He means well. Randy B. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. What's going on, Andre? All right, I'm going to get out of... Oh, shit. I didn't realize how late it was. Holy shit. I didn't realize it was after 2 o'clock in the morning. I was having... I tell you what, I was having more fun hanging out with you guys here than I was watching that pay-per-view tonight. All right, let's wrap this up. If you guys missed the early part of the review, obviously it will be archived here on the channel, so you can go back and watch everything that you missed. I was not a big fan of tonight's pay-per-view, although I thought it opened really strong, and it just never quite reached that level again after that. Not a lot of really great stuff to talk about, but we will be back on Wednesday night talking about what should be a fun episode of Dynamite. I loved Dynamite last week. I thought that was a great post-pay-per-view episode of Dynamite. What the Raw after WrestleMania used to be for WWE, this was almost like their version of that. Only the crowd wasn't quite as wild and out of its mind as some of those crowds. But hopefully this Thanksgiving Eve show on Wednesday is just as fun. One last super chat here from Drew. No, I am not made of money. I love the Solomonster and being part of this. Solomonster, thank you for everything that you do. Well, Drew, all the messages tonight and the back and forth, I appreciate that. And I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. So be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great week. If we do not interact on Wednesday, again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you eat a lot of food and spend it with family, and then I will see you otherwise on Wednesday night. So until then, happy Monday. At least until Raw goes on, right? Happy Monday until then. All right, I'll see you later. Take care, guys. Hey, Navy 4181 gets the last word in here with this super chat. Says Heenan pinned Jannetty at the 89 Survivor Series. Jannetty was then eliminated and ran back to the locker room. What an act of cowardism. I agree. Although it was even more of a cowardly move for him to jump through the barbershop window when he tried to escape. Anyway, Navy, thank you for the super chat. I wasn't going to leave you hanging. No soldier left on the battlefield here. Thank you for the super chat. All right, guys, hit that like button on your way out. I'll see you on Wednesday.